Breaking news, Hailey Bailey just accidentally started a revolution against the rich and famous. Real quick, if you already know about the Hailey Bailey, let the meat cake situation skip to this point. But for those who don't, let me briefly explain it to you. So if this year's Met Gala, Hailey Bailey decided the dress is Marie Antoinette, and she also made a video where she used to sound saying, "Let's the meat cake."
Let the meat cake.
Now, a lot of people found this video to be very out of touch and distasteful because of the context behind the saying, "Let them eat cake." Basically, the saying was allegedly used by a very rich and royal Marie Antoinette when asked what her starving subjects could have for food. Because of this, a lot of people are basically saying what Hailey Bailey did is the modern version of what Marie Antoinette did, as she's attending a lavish party for the rich and famous, where everyone is dressed like they're from District 12 in the Hunger Games, by the way, and she's attending this lavish ball while many Americans right now are struggling to even be able to afford groceries. So her video comes off very distasteful, to say the least. Now, because of Hailey's one video, people have started an entire movement to block all rich and famous celebrities they see on their social media. Basically, Hailey's video opened a lot of people's eyes that the house celebrities just have these lavish parties constantly, and they essentially laugh in our faces during these lavish parties by doing things like making videos saying, "Let them eat cake." Since the video, a lot of people have also started going to Hailey's page and calling her out. Basically, everybody just wants her to address the Marie Antoinette video. But as of right now, Hailey hasn't even acknowledged that she even knows what's going on. At least publicly, she hasn't.
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
That was an interesting choice by your marketing and PR team. They finally said let them eat cake out loud. You might have just unlocked the rage of millions of people, and I would suggest looking into how that story ends.
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
You see, now I wasn't even going to make any content about the Met Gala because I know a lot of people use the Met Gala as a time to talk about fashion and art, and they use it as a moment of levity in their lives. And trust me, in the times we're getting in, I get it. However, pairing that look with this sound at that event, we need to talk about it. The startling juxtaposition of having an extremely extravagant ball where only the wealthiest people can even attend, side by side with the suffering that we see regularly, is baffling. Like the idea of paying $75,000 for a one ticket to attend this event, while most people don't even make that much money in a year, combined with the criminalization of homelessness, that basic essentials in the grocery store are priced out of a lot of people's price points, that mere healthcare is unattainable, that public education is being defunded, people are outraged, as they should be. So to pair that with the ostentatiousness of a Met Gala is surmised in this video. Remember where that phrase comes from, "let them eat cake." It reflects a flippant attitude of the aristocracy to the suffering of the common people. And when people couldn't afford to buy a basic essential as bread, that the aristocracy was just like, all right, well, let them eat cake. It shows the massive disconnect, which is further illustrated by the ostentatiousness of this ball. I'm down for fashion. I'm down for fun. I love this stuff. But what was absolutely gross to me was this awareness of the suffering of other people. To pair your Met Gala look with this sound and to essentially say, well, I'm sorry you're suffering, but I'm out here having a great time. Make it make sense.
Guys, not every celebrity coming out and speaking in support of Gaza after we started Operation Block All Celebrities. We have all the power. Don't let them tell you otherwise. They're all terrified of losing their revenue because our attention gets them money. So don't fall for it. Like Chris Olsen posting his crocodile tears talking about support this family in Rafah. Sir, how long have you been silent for? Or Lizzo posting about Operation Olive Branch after, 7 months of a genocide? Nah, we see past those crocodile tears, y'all. What's next? Kim Kardashian is gonna come out and start a GoFundMe for Palestinians in Gaza? Don't fall for it.
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
But we're not gonna eat cake. We're gonna starve the rich. We're gonna eat the rich. Just like the time that the Dutch ate their prime minister. Hi, I'm Kaylee, I'm Dutch, and I'm gonna tell you all about The time the Dutch ate their prime minister. No, we did not eat him whole. We killed him, cut out his liver, roasted his liver, and then ate his liver. But you know what? Potatoes, potatoes. Nearly the same thing, right? So in 1672, the Netherlands, known as the Dutch Republic back then, was caught up in a war with England, France, and the two German cities of Cologne and Münster. This year would enter the Dutch history books as the disaster year, which marked the end of the Dutch Golden Age. The disaster year even has its own slogan: the people were irrational, the government helpless, and the country beyond salvation. So Johan de Witt was the unlucky prime minister at the time. For almost 20 years, he was one of the only non-royal leaders in all of Europe. He displeased many Dutch citizens who disliked him, and they would rather have a monarch on the throne instead of, a prime minister being in charge of everything. So the De Witt family was governing the city of Dordrecht since medieval times, and the powerful family held high political positions all over the Netherlands, and people were very displeased with Johan. So in June of 21 of the disaster year, an assassin stabbed De Witt, hurting him gravely, but it didn't kill him. He then resigned. He didn't want to be prime minister anymore. Then his brother was arrested for treason, taken to a prison in The Hague, and his brother was tortured there. This was a very normal part of imprisonment. This was normal at the time. So Johan went to the prison to help his brother and try and get him free. And so, that he succeeded. They left the prison together, and as they both departed, they got captured by a militant mob, which shot both of them and then left them to the crowds. And the crowds did what crowds do best. They lose all sense of sanity. They lose all sense. They go insane. According to some reports, the two brothers were stripped naked, mutilated, and had their livers removed and eaten. So for all the celebrities and all those people that are very rich at the moment, and they're flaunting how rich they are to the rest of us, while we are trying to get by, try to make the end of the month with a little bit of money left in the bank? Yeah, that's us. People that have to make a decision between getting insulin or having electricity in their homes. This is how insane this world is. We have wars going on, famine, people are starving. Even in first world countries, people are starving. There's a genocide going on. It's time to wake the fuck up. Let's starve the rich. Block them. Don't follow them anymore. Don't engage with them anymore. Make sure that their accounts get drier than the Sahara Desert. Let's support people that actually speak up and do something about it. Let's try and make a difference. And let's try and eat the rich. Let them eat cake.
Thought it would be taken in that way because I wasn't elite enough to even be invited to the Met Gala.
Let me tell you about why this response from Haley Bailey is actually the whole problem and why everyone's so upset. So Haley goes on to give a few excuses about why she wore the dress, why she said let them eat cake, and why she is ultimately innocent. She said she didn't understand the context and she wasn't even at the Met, and she's basically one of the poors. She's just like us, guys. The French Revolution wasn't just about the elite. Let me say that again. The French Revolution was not just about the elite. They came for upper middle class folks who upheld wealth and the power dominion over the people, and middle class folks who cosplayed as rich and just genuinely didn't give a fuck about their communities and the context of the world and other people. I know Haley's not going to see this, but the problem isn't what you said. It's the fact that you didn't put two and two together because you weren't even thinking about it. You've removed yourself so far from the reality of your fellow citizens, just the general public, because you were striving for your proximity to wealth and whiteness and upper class status, that you don't just have blind spots, you don't see anything. And choosing ignorance at a time like this is violent in and of itself. You're not receiving backlash because of an innocent mistake. You're receiving backlash because you've clearly shown you just do not give a fuck. And people are tired and they're hungry for more than cake. So do with that what you will.
This is why people are triggered, because let them eat cake was supposedly said by Marie Antoinette when she was told that her people, the French peasants, were essentially starving to death because at the time France was going bankrupt. France was helping the US settlers in their own revolution against the British Empire, and at the same time colonizing the entire world. So all of France's resources and money was going into maintaining its global power. Sound familiar? The government kept raising its taxes because colonization costs a lot of money. So in the meantime, the people, the regular working class, were starving. So let them eat cake essentially was the catalyst for the French Revolution. And then later on, Marie Antoinette faced the guillotine. So not only is that influencer saying let them eat cake at a time when the people in Gaza are being starved to death, there is a famine in the Sudan, there is a genocide happening in the Congo, and regular people in the United States can't afford groceries. And her outfit was inspired by Marie Antoinette, but this year's Met Gala was inspired by The Garden of Time, which is a short story written by J.G. Ballard. Let me give you the Sparks Notes version of what it says. The Garden of Time is about this very wealthy couple who live in a palatial mansion with a beautiful garden with magical flowers. Okay, this is a sci-fi. And they notice an angry mob coming towards them, and so the Count tries to pluck these time flowers to stop time or go back in time. I forget which one it was. But essentially, he plucks the last time flower and the mob comes and takes over the villa anyway. This theme is so fitting for these times because each ticket to the Met Gala is $75,000 during a time when the wealth gap is bigger than it was during the French Revolution. And most of us peasants have just woken up to the fact that our hard-earned tax dollars go to a foreign entity to then bomb innocent civilians. Like, we are in the middle of a polycrisis and we're watching it in real time on our phones. In a weird twist of irony, Marie Antoinette saying let them eat cake essentially started the French Revolution, and Haley Bailey now saying it like 200 plus years later started the digitine, as they're saying it now, where peasants like us are blocking celebrities and influencers.
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
As a woman who loves fashion and is usually very interested in what everybody's wearing at the Met Gala and usually like waits all spring to watch the Met Gala, this year was the weirdest dystopian hellscape of a performance I have ever seen in my life. I didn't even watch the red carpet of the Met Gala, and that's usually something I find much more interesting than the Grammys or the Oscars, etc. And I couldn't watch it because it's obscene. And it was probably always obscene, but there is something like very Hunger Games-esque, and I know everybody's been making that comparison, but it is so Hunger Games adjacent. It's probably always been this obscene, but like the juxtaposition of what's going on in the actual world right now with the Met Gala, it is just so stark because of what's going on. Like, there is an income inequality. There is a wealth gap that is bigger than it was in the French Revolution. So the tone deafness to post something like this is beyond. Not to mention, I looked up the actual theme of the Met Gala this year, and it's actually based on this story that has a lot to do with like class inequality and these like super rich people trying to fight off this horde of angry peasants, basically, with magic and time turning, which like is a little on the nose for also like right now. It's almost like this year they were like, yeah, we know what we're doing, and we want you to know that we know what we're doing. And I'm not saying that everything has to be about everything else. Like, I appreciate art, I love fashion. I think you can have an appreciation of like beauty in a sense that like art is important even in the darkest of times. However, this is not art for art's sake necessarily. This is an elaborate show of wealth. And literally with everything that's going on in Palestine, it's gross. And it felt gross this year. And everyone's still slayed, but like the whole event felt icky.
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
Well, we can certainly say that she was on par with this year's theme at the Met Gala, which was The Garden of Time, based off of the short novel by J.G. Ballard.
Which is ironically about a pair of aristocrats hiding out in their castle while an angry horde of working class people are essentially coming to make them meet their demise. The aristocrats use these magical flowers called time flowers that essentially delay the horde from reaching them. The flowers only give them so much time, and there's only so many of the flowers. And by the time this army reaches them, they are statues surrounded by all of their rotting relics. An obvious, purposefully tactless theme choice, paired with influencers saying let them eat cake, a comment which essentially provoked the French Revolution. Out of touch or intentional? May you eat the pavement.